4 or 5 years old, understanding the history and the tradition and the significance of April 18th. And we're delighted that all of you are with us tonight for this momentous 250th anniversary and commemoration. So I want to begin by, if you'll permit me, by having a little bit of poetic license by saying, listen, my children, and you shall hear that I'm not a poet, but we're happy you're here. To mark and remember, and yes, to cheer, the midnight ride of, not Paul Revere, William Dawes. You're going to hear a little bit more about that in a few minutes. I'm delighted to be here with you, and forgive me as I organize my notes in this blustery evening. And thanks for spending your Friday evening here. It's Good Friday, and here in the shadow of Ohio's State House, one of our 76 National Historic Landmarks, your State House. I'm Doug Price. I'm delighted to be co-chairman of the Ohio America 250 Commission, leading Ohio's participation in the National 250th commemoration. We have other members of the commission here and a lot of other friends and familiar places and familiar faces, and we thank you for being here. As we begin this evening's proceedings, may I ask Bob Hill and the Hocking Valley chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution to present the colors.
Color guard, attention! Shoulder firelocks. To the right, hey! Front, march! 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 Color guard, march! Left, face! Freeze it! Earth!
Many, many thanks to our friends of the Sons of the American Revolution, among them Tom Hankins here, who is a fellow commissioner alongside me. And I hope you will have the opportunity to greet His Excellency General Washington, who's with us this evening. Thank you, Kurt Radebaugh from Fairfield County, for joining us this evening. We also are very pleased to have Capella, the fine-looking horse, and her equally fine-looking rider, Beth Boza. Thank you both for being here and remembering that without a horse, that faithful ride would never have happened. Would we applaud the horse and Beth? If this blows away, I have to make it up. We're assembled here this evening as one of more than 1,000 locations across the country participating in the commemoration of the beginning of the Revolutionary War. 2 lights for tomorrow. Multiple county courthouses, private residences, and other public buildings across the country are lighting 2 lights tonight. It's a unifying occasion for us to reflect about the sacrifices that were made to create these United States and our place in the larger world. Tomorrow is the 250th anniversary of the shot heard round the world at Lexington and Concord. This evening is the anniversary of that fateful encounter. By the way, we make motorcycles in Ohio, which is something we're celebrating too. Next year we have 12 months that we're celebrating each month. One of them is a transportation month. And the National Motorcycle Museum is about 4 miles that way. I see nods here because these three ladies are from the east side of Columbus. It's in Reynoldsburg, Pickerington. You guys are from there with the SAR. And so they're involved in what we're doing. We're celebrating today as well as yesterday and certainly tomorrow. But we had the sonorous tone of motorcycles joining us this evening here. The pleasure of doing something outside. Generations of school kids grew up learning about the midnight ride of Paul Revere, mythologized by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And though I had a little fun with my own poetic expression earlier, most of us grew up listening and remembering. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere, the 18th of April in 75. Hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. Perhaps the most famous phrases from the Revolutionary period among them are, don't shoot until you see the whites of their eyes. There's an Ohio connection to that. We hold these truths to be self-evident. There's an Ohio connection to that. One if by land and two if by sea. There's an Ohio connection to that. It's hard to go anywhere in this country and in the world when you don't see and find a connection to Ohio. We became the 17th state, and we've been central to the success of this democracy for the last 200 and more years. And that's what we're celebrating tonight and all of next year. We love Paul Revere, a true patriot to the cause, but he had a little help that evening 250 years ago, and we're excited to share about that in a few brief remarks tonight. John Adams once described July 1776 as the moment when 13 clocks struck at the same time. These 13 American colonies somehow overcame incredibly long odds to create a durable union that eventually included Ohio, capable of not only declaring independence from Britain, but achieving it and later becoming the global superpower that Ohio was and is. Our experiment in democracy continues to this day. Among the people closest to all of this incredible history are members of the Sons of the American Revolution and the Daughters of the American Revolution, all descendants of patriots who fought in the Revolution. We're here tonight because they were willing to sacrifice everything. Benjamin Franklin famously said, "We must indeed all hang together or we will hang separately." I think about that quote because I'm a sixth generation descendant of a signer of the Declaration of Independence, so I grew up proud and pleased and so happy to be able to be a volunteer in this capacity today. I'd like now to call upon Bob Hill, representing the Sons of the American Revolution, for some brief remarks. And then he'll be followed by Chris Naring, representing the Daughters of the American Revolution. Bob? It's a windy, noisy night.
I'm going to take my hat off because I don't want to be embarrassed with it blowing off. Indeed, it is an honor to be here and to take part in the 250th anniversary of a very momentous event. I mean, I just can't believe it. 250 years ago, almost exactly, the lanterns were seen up in the North Tower, giving Paul Revere and William Dawes the message that they needed to know to spread the word. They knew the British were on the move, and they knew what the British were after. The arms and gunpowder there in Concord, and they wanted to arrest John Hancock and Samuel Adams. Luckily, they were able to leave and be unimpeded to all the way to Lexington. In fact, William Dawes rode further than Paul Revere that evening. I think we're going to hear about that tonight. He took a southerly route, and Paul took he rode across the harbor to Charlestown and began his ride. I think it was about 12 miles that he actually rode that night. And they both reached Lexington about the same time to warn John Hancock and Samuel Adams to get out of town. The British are after you. But One thing that's Hollywood always perpetuated was what Paul Revere said when he was on his ride. How many people think that he said the British are coming? I know there's more of you out there that think that. That was because of Hollywood. But that would have been a ridiculous thing for him to say at that moment in time, because at that moment in time, we still considered ourselves British subjects. So they wouldn't have understood what he meant if he would have said that. So what he actually probably said was, the regulars are coming, or possibly the redcoats. The people would have understood what that meant. That meant the regular army was coming out, and they knew what they were going to do. So after they made it to Lexington, they still had to ride on to Concord, and they were joined by a third rider, and his name was Samuel Prescott. He was a doctor from Concord, and he joined them. He was actually visiting his girlfriend in Lexington at that time, and he was on his way out. But they were all sons of liberty, and they went on to Concord, but they were intercepted by a British patrol. And in the darkness and in the confusion, William Dawes' horse bucked, and he fell off his horse. I think we're going to hear more about this story. And he was able to make his escape into the woods. And Samuel Prescott, knowing the area, he was able to jump his horse over a stone fence and make his getaway. And he made it to Concord to warn the militia there to get rid of the ammunition and their guns and everything. So, and then Paul, he was arrested. But they let him go just as dawn was approaching and the Battle of Lexington was about to begin. So it's such momentous events. I mean, tomorrow morning when you wake up, think about those first patriots that took part in that first battle to win our independence. It's just an unbelievable event. We're going to be celebrating a lot of them over the next 8 years. It took 8 years for us to actually gain our independence from Britain. So we're going to be doing a lot of work, ladies in the DAR and all my SAR compatriots. We got a lot of events we're going to be, and it starts tonight. Tomorrow we'll be doing some stuff for Lexington and Concord. So think about that tomorrow morning, the first American veterans that began our country and won our independence, and all the patriots since that time to maintain our nation's freedom. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the America 250 Ohio Commission for inviting the DAR to participate in this truly historic event. When Paul Revere engaged in his midnight ride 250 years ago, I'm certain that it never occurred to him that we'd be celebrating his bravery during this nationwide event. Daughters across Ohio have been engaged in efforts by educating their communities about America 250 for the past several years. The excitement is growing as we get closer and closer to July 4th, 2026. Ohio Daughters are proud to be active participants in celebrating the men and women who fought in so many ways to give us the freedom that we enjoy today. Our society's main focus to celebrate our 250 years is a grave marking project bringing the service of our underrepresented patriots to light. This has been quite a challenge as records are non-existent or poorly kept. Underrepresented patriots include those who were female, African American, Native American, mixed heritage, French Canadian, and Jewish. Last September, my home chapter of Fort Greenville was honored to place the first Ohio America 250 commemorative marker, recognizing Benjamin Williams, a man of color and a private in the Maryland Continental Line. The marker dedication coincided with the Bethel Long Wesleyan Church annual homecoming event in Longtown. On April 5th, there were 3 markings. The Stanley Redmond Harbor chapter in Northeast Ohio marked the graves of 2 female patriots, Abigail Patchen Bartholomew and her daughter Elizabeth Bartholomew Harper. And the Nathaniel Massey chapter marked the grave in Monroe County of John Mosina, who fought with Marquise de Lafayette, and there are several more markings in the works. There are chapters throughout Ohio participating in the 2 Lights event tonight in their towns as well. Some chapters have handed out 2 tea lights to make sure that even at home, members can put lights on in their windows and be an active participant in this event. The Ohio Society has another connection to tonight. We are proud to say that we are William Dawes' 4th great-granddaughter. We have William Dawes' 4th great-granddaughter, Deborah Dawes Fortcamp, was a member of the Marietta chapter. It's really an honor to be here tonight to mark this historic event. Paul Revere's ride is an important symbol of resistance and patriotism during the American Revolution. As we move closer to America's official birthday, the Ohio Society DAR looks forward to celebrating events leading up to July 4th, 2026, with each and every one of you as we host events across the state. In the spirit of our ancestors 250 years ago, I say huzzah.
That was great. Thank you so much to our partners, the SAR and the DAR. We're a temporary commission. We go out of business after the end of next year as the commission. We hope to hand off to the state and to posterity many of the legacies that we're working on to establish. But the SAR and the DAR have been around for a couple hundred years and will be for another couple hundred years. So congratulations and much continued success, and thank you for your partnership. So William Dawes has now been mentioned. I see a patriot in the corner here. I mentioned in introducing Henry, I'm going to take 30 more seconds. You're crowding my stage.
No, I like this. Come here.
That it's hard to go anywhere without finding an Ohio connection. And indeed, don't fire until you see the whites of the eyes. Guess who said that? General Putnam. The Putnams moved to Marietta when Marietta was founded. And on and on. And indeed, the Dawes family, a great patriotic family, and which continues to be an amazing and important leading family, not only in Ohio, but elsewhere. Indeed, there was a Vice President Dawes. Some of you may or may not know that. There's an Ohio connection there, too. But Henry Hauser is a friend and a patriot in his own mind, in our mind, in his own way. Is knowledgeable is knowledgeable of the family's history, and we're pleased and proud and humbled to have him here to represent the legacy and the tradition and the leadership of the Dawes family.
So, 50 years ago, I was in Boston with my grandmother. But 1975. I have no idea. I mean, he was against taxation without representation, because he was well known as a beginner going in and out of Boston. He was a ride out of Boston. Paul Revere was well known as being a son of liberty, so he had to row across the Charles River to go more than Hancock and Adams. But I have no idea. I mean, I'm proud of his legacy. And the thing I think I'm most proud of is the fact that William Dawes' son came to Ohio in 1817. William Dawes' grandson married Ephraim Cutler's daughter. Ephraim Cutler is the free state versus a slave state. Manasseh Cutler's granddaughter. My daughter, Sally, is the sixth generation in the row to go to Marietta College, which the Daweses came to Marietta in 1817, and some of them are still there. My cousin Barb Moberg is here, and her husband. Her great-grandfather was Charles Gates Dawes. Rufus Dawes' son, oldest son. He did nothing besides be the chief supply officer for the American Expeditionary Force in World War I, and then become vice president under Calvin Coolidge. And just happened to go to Marietta College, and is from Ohio. Fortunately, her side of the family settled in Chicago. Thankfully, my side of the family is here in Columbus. I encourage all of you to come out to the Dawes Arboretum. And if you say William Dawes sent you in the next month, you can get in free, and you can get a special tour from Leslie Wagner, our historian, who's proudly serving on the Ohio 250 Commission, and she can show you the portrait of William Dawes, which has a remarkable resemblance to me. But anyway, thank you, everyone, Todd, Doug, everyone that's involved, soldiers. God bless America. God bless William Dawes and Paul Revere and Samuel Prescott.
There are not many of the 1,000 ceremonies going around the country tonight where Paul Revere takes second or third place, but he did tonight, but with good reason. Thank you, Dawes family descendants, for being here, and thank you for the service of all of your family members up until today for our country. And Henry, thanks for being here with your extended family. So, I think the time has come. It's just gotten dark enough. Let's all say it and see if it works. 1 if by land, 2 if by sea, and let's point up and see what we may see. It's wartime, so communications are iffy. I'm confident it's going to happen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. Though the 250 Commission and the National Commission have been working for a couple of years, this is sort of the ceremonial and fun kickoff for the next year and a half. And we're going to have a final salute by our friends from the Hocking Valley SAR, please.